Good grief, YouTube sure can be a challenging platform to grow on, especially in today's climate. It's getting harder and harder to find passionate individuals that love to make videos on the things they enjoy. Those with thick skin that aren't fazed by the almighty algorithm. I mean, let's face it, when you have a slew of AI-generated slop constantly heaved atop your suggested list, it's hard to really discover a solid video to watch. Even more so, what information is fact or fiction anymore? You want some facts? Well, the cold hard truth is that I'm doing game reviews in 2025. On top of that, I'm covering the Rocket Knight series. F it. Who knows, maybe I'll review the adventures of Tom Sawyer or Pinball Quest for the NES next. The fact of the matter is, we often neglect the context of our videos due to the viewing habits we are slowly being conditioned to, flooding the top of search pages with shorts and reels. For many content creators, there's not much incentive to make long-form content, unless that is, you do it for the hobbyist in you. Which, I'll be real, for many it's few and far between. If you're not looking up the latest hashtags, you're mirroring the next viral trend, trying to catch a nut in the wee hours of the day. If that's how it's gonna be, then consider this a suicide mission, because with the dwindling popularity of the Rocket Knight series, I must be sabotaging my own YouTube career, making 30-minute videos about what I want, when I want, even when the data says otherwise. Well, fear not gang, this video isn't a call to action distress signal, so it's not hidden behind a paywall. I refuse to sell my soul to the muddy manscapers and the swig conglomerates of the machine world. Besides, I still think these games still have a great deal to talk about, chock full of clever play features and creative visuals that make it a worthwhile franchise to cover. So again, when it comes to the context of my wordplay throughout this review, interpret it as you will, just don't overthink it, as that's the whole point of this creator's content to begin with. I'm clearly just telling my narrative as I go, and I'd much rather take a crack at a unique character name than look up the pronunciation in advance. That's just a conversation killer in itself. So what I'm really trying to say in a nutshell is thank you for an amazing first 50 episodes, and what better way to close out this beloved series than on that big 5-0, because we gotta keep the algorithm ablazing, making another video with the exact same name as the previous entry we covered, only this time, we're taking a trip back to the mighty Super NES that many still consider, pound for pound, the muddiest system of all time. I'll put that theory to the test here today, as we now size up the other half of this 2-episode Season 2 with everyone's favorite Rocket Knight of Elhorn. Now, enough talk, let's get this show on the road. From what I've gathered, I assume the story of Sparkster across the Super NES, the Snes, the Super Nintendo, whatever you prefer to call it, takes place somewhere between the events of the original Rocket Knight adventures and Sparkster on the Sega Genesis. There's a few key giveaways here that makes me believe these assumptions to be true. For starters, Sparkster returns to form with all his magi-flinging, sword-slinging capabilities that I always say puts that spark in Sparkster. He's rocking Old Faithful here, his original rocket pack. So we're once again manually filling up our boost meter like we're driving 5-speed, redlining down those superhighways till the perfect moment to shift gears. With all his training and combat against the Devo Tindos Empire, he's perfected this now lost art, passing his own limitations by defying the previous laws of physics, incorporating in the all-new air dash. This short-range attack is excellent in close-range combat, just be sure not to abuse it. Like anything else in life, too much of a good thing will eventually be harmful to you, so proceed with caution. This release of Sparkster is a bit more beefed up in the health department, bringing our heart count up to a staggering 7 while accompanied by a slew of traditional upgrades to see your journey through to the very end. Our fearless possum has also been hard at work in the lab, developing his latest contraptions that will give those famous metal slugs a real run for their money. We'll dive into them when the opportunity presents, but for now just know, Elhorn is a land of endless possibilities, and just when you think it's time to take a load off, there's always someone lurking in the shadows looking to take your spot out right from underneath you. Although Sparkster has climbed the ranks of the Rocket Knight variety, there's a whole ass world outside Zephyrus to explore. In fact, Sparkster would do just that, taking advantage of this opportunity with a well-deserved vacation. Through past events, we have come to learn of Sparkster's discovery of the sacred swords, granting him the power to go beyond a possum's limits. Yet the road that bridges these discoveries leads us down a path to the kingdom of Iganasum, that, much like the royal family of Zephyrus, is primarily centered around their kingdom's very own sacred relic with its own otherworldly capabilities known as the Pendant of Peace. I totally made that up on the fly, but rest assured it's a pendant capable of restoring balance to these lands, in which the king now entrusts to the next in line to the throne, Princess Flora. However, word quickly spreads like wildfire regarding these remarkable powers, bringing forth any and all whom look to use its powers for their own personal desires. Enter the Wolf Army, a pack of merciful hound dogs that have been released upon the lands to gobble up the rich resources of the neighboring lands of Egonasum. This wolf pack is led by their leader, Big Sexy. Well, the other Big Sexy, General Lismo Lioness, leader of these bloodhounds. He's not quite the heavyweight champ Big Kev was, but powerful enough to sniff out the kingdom's grandest prize and put a plan in place to obtain it. This would be done so by constructing the most skilled group of tech-savvy mercenaries across the vast reaches of Elhorn, and well, would you look at that. Look who else is sporting the Wolfpack colors this time around. This dude would jump on any bandwagon if they let him. A true shill indeed. He probably also has a collection of manscapers back home, just stooging out his services by any means, now doing the army's bidding once more by doing his vintage abduct the princess gimmick in hopes to win the admiration of yet another platoon. I'm sensing some deep-rooted issues with this guy. Nevertheless, keeping on course, the Wolf Army takes full advantage of the opportunity here, deploying their mighty air fleet into the heart of Egonasum, eagerly waiting to collect their reward. Catching wind of these events, Sparkster takes a detour from his destined path, touching down into uncharted territories, anticipating what trouble lies on the opposite side of the pond, making a little pit stop to test his newly acquired capabilities. As Sparkster deploys down into the castle courtyard, your muscle memory kicks in, getting a taste of those classic Rocket Knight mechanics as the all-new canine combatants sneak in the frame, suited up in the 16-bit Nintendo variety, hot on the scent of our mighty possum. The foreground and background effects look exceptional here, as the ocean body that surrounds these lands rise and fall like it's high tide at sea, all while you slice and dice through the hungry platoon, sending those furballs scurrying back to training camp. As you quickly locate Flora, things will go from 0 to 60, as the Wolf Army appears to have reverse engineered that astonishing Divotindo's tech we've seen prior, now bringing forth some massive mechanical titans to reconstruct this landmark. Quickly have at it, dissecting this hot-wired primate as you dash back and forth between those feet, keeping him tied up long enough to pump him full of those sweet sonic booms from that mythical blade of yours, granting you the clearance needed to make your advance towards Princess Flora's floating prison cell above. What great game series doesn't pay homage to the flying airships of old, and it's quite an improvement in build specs from our first two outings. The inside of this floating cargo is filled with mystery and lined with tight corridors to zip throughout, all while rail grinding above to maintain a steady acceleration in your relentless assault across this carrier. That classic Rocket Knight track sets in, now deep in your subconscious, remastered with that sweet Super NES sound chip that is nearly unmatched, merely adding to the moment as you find yourself deep in your feels, running into old Axel Gear once again, whom now decides to crash the party by rushing onto the scene to scoop up poor Princess Flora, ushering in our first big bad. This sucker tears this flying fortress into two as it looks to fillet you to the bone by any means necessary, sending waves of optical key blasts into the chamber, followed by a spring-loaded fisting, looking to spread our boy across the interior cabin like sliced toast for a fleshly spread. Use his golden gauntlet as a stepping stone to line your blade just right for a fresh fleecing, reconstructing his circuitry face first as you look to close out this act with a bang. Our air cruiser eventually reaches its destination, the Wolfpack's base of operations, a factory and fulfillment center where their massive militia is formed. It's here veteran Sparkster players will prevail and beginners will soon perish, as the stage is laced with this exposed framework to tailgate along, boosting throughout some tight confined spaces while dealing with the factory's assembly lines filled with the latest gadgets which are slated to go on the test market later this year. There's multiple ways to meet your maker, as each path forward presents you with a variety of electrically charged obstacle courses that will swallow up the untrained eye. This stage is as equally challenging as it is creative, and I love the many ways they double down on the stage themes throughout. Each contraption serves its purpose and present unique functionality that plays up this series' tropes perfectly, animating the new cast of critters whom lurk about the stage, eventually bringing things together in a grand showcase. An amalgamation of scrap parts designed to showcase the Wolf Army's talents through an exhibition of killer features that have been implemented into their latest death devices. Leaving the cold, desolate factories behind, find Sparkster in a lush forest terrain, now surrounded by forest friends with a little extra spunk in the tank to further our hero in his endeavors. This oversized ostrich zips across the forest fields looking to avoid the welcome party of woodland creatures that now appear to be roboticized to bear the bidding of the Wolf Army, dropping canine units down atop the raceway on a high-speed chase across the mythical lands of Elhorn. Our tag team partner will soon begin the red line, kicking into double gear for a high-speed tumble down the mountainside, calling in backup as the rest of the pack aids you on your quest. Continue to look for your comrades, because soon the old colonel will make his grand debut, now in his own personal ride-on unit that flails about, more so looking to be in a state of panic than an attempt to halt your path. The colonel drops down some heavy artillery onto the runway. However, he didn't anticipate in halting two speed demons, as he quickly loses his footing, taking an L down the asphalt below, scurrying away in comedic fashion. As you reach the expressway, you discover more mecha madness crawling your way, picking apart its insectoid segments inch by inch. Be mindful, these sections of the creature have a mind of their own, slowly manifesting in the highway hazards to maneuver past. Continue your pursuit, falling back just long enough to clear its sequence of heat waves as it continues to wobble across the roadway, weaving through each series of rotations till this creepy crawler gets decommissioned. Our two heroes must now part ways as our new companion launches Sparkster to his next destination, finding himself aboard the Colonel's naval fleet, a submarine full of cybersecurity and metallic minions that slither throughout the hallways. The bowels of this beast is war-ready, with built-in laser cannons that will evaporate anything it touches, and breaking through the many layers of security will cause the shipmates to get swallowed up by this thing. Fear not, as a strategy for this situation was planned out many moons ago, when a once courageous fellow named Master Alucard faced a very similar challenge. You need to take your time sneaking through each of the submarine's inner chambers, because if not, you're sounding the alarms, waking the rest of the crewmates from their slumber. It's soon apparent the Colonel didn't safe-proof much of this vessel, as the interior structure soon implodes, instantly flooding the lower decks and forcing you to think quickly on your feet. You need to maneuver with the utmost precision, perfectly mapping out your path ahead towards the upper decks, because if not, you'll be food for whatever lies on the ocean floor. The steady flow of pressure will guide you up and out of the submarine, where you're greeted by a search and rescue fleet that eventually leads you into the clutches of the Colonel, now mounted to a submarine to see things through to the very end. As you quickly disassemble his plans once more, you find this to be merely phase 1 as the sub releases an escape hatch, bringing forth the Colonel's personal military mech that will make its advances back and forth across the sinking ship. Well, it takes two to tango, hurling his massive steel appendages towards you while firing off his super cannon. The Colonel's latest invention is about as classic in design as they come, a throwback to the not-so-genius intellect of old Ivo Robotnik, and the Colonel will soon find out the hard way while those inventions failed time and time again. Borrowing the blueprint from the evil doctor may have worked on a certain blue hedgehog, but not a high-speed possum wielding a rocket pack and a mythical blade. Our cruise line will eventually arrive at its destination, a brand new world that the Wolf Army was looking to claim for their own. These desert sands are carved out with underground tombs, designed to keep these treasures from being poached by the outside world. These interior chambers will close in on our possum, giving you a slight feeling of claustrophobia as the walls continue to randomly shift throughout, and you rely on your footwork to keep you alive along the many hidden chambers you stumble upon. It's undoubtedly a rehashed design from its Genesis counterpart. only missing a great deal of the creativity that made the original at least doable. These tombs are my least favorite stages across the Sparkster titles, and this rendition is far more mundane in design, causing the puzzles from within to feel far more repetitive in approach, and that's never a good thing, especially when designed around high-speed platforming. When you get the opportunity to finally stretch your legs, you'll only get tangled up again moments later with a giant desert serpent whom quickly wraps itself around these ancient stone structures, looking to fry those golden possum locks clean off your head. The idea here is to focus on the head of the snake, playing keep away long enough to find the opportunity to counterstrike when it rears that ugly mug. Be mindful, in the event you succeed in destroying the core, it uses a regenerative factor for regrowth, so be sure to get the kill from the very start by beheading the beast like the true Highlander you are. Solving the temple secrets rewards you for all your efforts as you find your way to Elhorn's famous City of Sound, a massive music park filled with the sweet sounds of this realm's majestic melodies. You slide from keynote to keynote, playing a duet across the piano tops, or bounce to the beat of your own drum, battling robotic baddies. It's by far a true standout for me across this trilogy of games, and the way they managed to capture the themes across this series is nothing less than stellar. There's something to be said about the way Konami manages to tie their ideas together to tell a complete story. One great example is the simplistic approach to travel here, from section to section, playing a game of chance as you're sucked through the various brass piping of these magical instruments, while cleverly using the stage environments as hazards to interact with. It's 90s Konami at its finest, right down to the storytelling, as you soon run into Axel Gear just in time to hear him playing his swan song as the two knights quickly engage in a classical duel once more. Your long-running stablemate never disappoints, methodically putting together another masterful performance to recapture the magic of a now long-heated rivalry. These two continue to clash back and forth inside this whimsical cathedral, looking to catch the other off guard with a perfect calculated trajectory. It's the classic Axel Gear fight here, mirroring your every move, so just do what you do best, and that's play the game better than old Axel Gear here, catching him off guard one too many times till he sees stars, and he'll soon enough witness them in cosmic fashion, grabbing poor Princess Flora and peeling off towards the Wolf Army's galactic base, high above the world of Elhorn. Without a moment to lose, Sparkster ignites in the pursuit of Axel Gear, making a call to an old friend from back home going by the alias Cannon O'Yarg. The duo teams up, launching Sparkster into orbit as he explores the vast reaches of space itself, looking to locate this all-new galactic federation. Well, we got a few light years ahead of us as Wolfpack ships deploy into space as we are greeted to a magnificent top-down shoot-'em-up stage, transforming Sparkster into an all-in-one spacecraft, barrel-rolling his way through space and time as he encounters waves of Starfleet that appear as each sector of this space station is breached, forcing their offenses to quickly ramp up, making this a worthy bullet hell if I do say so myself. Eventually, Axel will tire of this chase, stalling for time just long enough to set the playing field for their final battle, and what better way than a galactic showdown across the stars. These two put on an exhibition locked into their respective Megazords, known in this universe as Power Gears, and let me just say, they rock the living shit out of each other. As you exchange blows with your respective Power Gear, you'll need to block Axel's fury of oncoming punches. The key is to keep your guard up long enough to land the counter blow, all while managing to sustain minor injury to your Power Gear. In the event you aren't careful, you're losing an arm or maybe two, leaving you open for a punishing knockout blow. Axel can be quite the defensive boxer at times, holding strong just long enough to wear you out, retaliating with his own mechanical interpretation of the Dempsey roll, sending your Power Gear spiraling offline. So, like any good boxer, put in the training, keeping a keen eye on your opponent's position, looking to telegraph his onslaught with the perfect counter, flying in with turbines ablazing, sending Axel Gear to the interstellar canvas for the final time, leaving you standing tall as the one undisputed champion. With our old foe bested once more, there's nothing left to do but enter the Wolfpack's cosmic headquarters, a reverse-engineered space station built from the power of an asteroid belt which now floats above Sparkster's homeworld. As you find your way inside this supernatural fortress, you're just in time for a round of nuclear testing, as the Army looks to perform a series of missile launches down atop Elhorn to initiate endgame. Keep that furry ear of yours to the streets, waiting for the moment to pick off the guards one by one as you slowly cross the stretch. You eventually make your way into the neighboring hangar, where you'll see more of these massive weapons of war being constructed, allowing you to sneak through each line of security to catch a ride on a one-way trip towards the center of the station, all while enemy troops scurry to pick you off your path with destiny. There's tons of oversized badniks to keep you at bay, and you need to slowly inch your way through the space station's infrastructure, clearing a path forward from those that power this infernal base. The core of this station has a mind of its own, perhaps a mother brain reference I might add, as you're required to now destroy this source of power to reach the general. This task now comes through deactivating the 4 crystals that power the core, hacking away at the crystals one by one, dodging their electrical currents to eradicate this sentient cybernetic brood. Boosting your way to the bottom of this mystery, you find your way into the general's own personal cosmic throne room, where a massive warhead lies, powered up in the background with the coordinates set to Elhorn. Distracted by this discovery grants this cunning war general ample time to beam down into the room for a surprise attack on our hero, quickly emitting a firestorm across the floor beneath you that spreads throughout the room. This colossal beast will chain together his attacks, resulting with a series of spherical paired orbs that hover across the room, blocking in from opposite sides of our hero and showering down an electrical field that slowly closes in from the sides, trapping you in place. All you can do is wait out the storm, keeping an eye on his paw-like projectiles that travel back and forth, scanning the perimeter. Ironically, his Achilles heel is that he's painfully slow on his feet, allowing you to get into proper position for each wave of incoming attacks, so you can deal some heavy damage between each assault. Continue to stay on high alert, as he sends those flashy attacks your way, ducking down when need be and keeping your strategy fairly simple, being careful not to overshoot your shot, but merely take them in strides. Staying toe-to-toe with the big brute till this so-called war general falls apart at the seams, revealing he's merely a cheap knockoff this entire time, chock full of counterfeit parts. I always found this moment really interesting, as if this entire battle was a clue which ties this game to the original story. Perhaps these events are not only the aftermath of the war that took place in Zephyrus against the Divotendos Empire, but also the origin of their ancient technology and the effects it had on the world of Elhorn, possibly rooted back to the very organism we located deep inside this very space station, thus causing the ancestors of the Divotendos army to go mad many years prior and develop the Pigstar from this very ancient alien power source. Nevertheless, this artificial artifact is programmed to perform one last task, completing its mission to acquire the Pendant of Peace, and doing so by stripping the pendant clean off the princess as Sparkster sets his sights on her release. This bootleg bag of bones quickly crawls his way to the center stage with pendant in hand, now placing it upon the system control stand. As it slowly activates, it grants this system the power needed to activate the warhead, powering up the hatches as it launches off towards its scheduled destination. With the station in shambles, the alarms sound as Sparkster grabs hold of Princess Flora, leading her safely to a nearby escape pod on a one-way trip back to Egonesum. With the princess in safekeeping, Sparkster fires up his jetpack for one last ride, boosting off to the outer limits to intercept the wicked warhead. Without a moment to lose, Sparkster finds an opening inside the missile's core, leading him down a path towards the power source. With a radioactive presence emanating in the distance, you slice through hordes of robotic guard dogs, one by one till you lock eyes with a massive core. The core quickly illuminates the surrounding area, releasing a wave of ghostly wolf-like projections towards our hero, potentially fallen troops that have given their souls to this infernal structure. Keep that finely tuned blade of yours heated up because you're needed to fend off each wave of ghastly frights as the missile quickly charges up, sending multiple rounds of supercharged strikes your way, which will cause the room around you to fall apart, raining down an assortment of explosives to keep the surrounding area clear of intruders. This last stretch can be pretty damn challenging, especially if you aren't used to abusing your thumbs for long periods, setting them to rapid fire mode for the rest of this adventure. This entire round is simply an endurance, a mere test of strength for a battle-tested warrior. As you continue to fight off each wave of missile strikes, you will find small opportunities to damage the core, chiseling away round after round. Rest those fingers briefly and push ahead through each wave of assaults till the sheer stress placed upon the core is too much to bear, causing the missile's exterior shell to give way, bursting at the center as it releases the souls of the slaughtered. Sparkster fires up his jet turbines for a monumental exit as in mere moments the warhead explodes in the far-off distance. The only question now on the minds of everyone on planet Elhorn is what would be the fate of poor Sparkster. That is until the familiar sounds of that famous rocket pack can be heard, as Sparkster descends down atop the castle, bidding Princess Flora and her kingdom a hero's farewell as our mighty possum rushes off to whatever trials await him next. And let's just say we know a thing or two about this dude's fate, as he eventually transcends that of any rocket knight whom donned the mighty attire. Best of luck collecting those sacred swords, Sparkster. Your legacy will forever be etched among the many golden heroes of legend, which will one day be passed on for generations to come. So, with the original trilogy of Rocket Knight games now officially cemented in the record books, what are my thoughts of the series collectively? Well, playing through each one of these back to back, they all bear unique play features that give them a distinct presentation, which makes any of the three worthy of your time. This series heavily relies on the all-star cast of amazing franchises that came before it. The gameplay as a whole offers up a little something from each of Konami's flagship franchises. It's everything I loved about Konami throughout my early childhood, as if this was a showcase of talents placed on display for their fandom to see. It pulls from those large over-the-top boss encounters we faced across the Castlevania series, venturing across uncharted terrains, through immersive top-down and vertical shoot-'em-up segments of the Gradius series, and the over-the-top action in Crisis Force. Dare I mention the hardcore platforming segments of Contra, as Sparkster launches a flurry of electrically charged projectiles emitting from his mythical blade. The quirky cast of characters and story plots pays homage to the many amazing franchises that came before it, while executed with enough distinction throughout each entry that makes the Rocket Knight series a must-play for any diehard fan of Konami's earliest works. If you're a fan of any of the franchises I've covered on this channel, then give it a shot. Essentially, this is a culmination of my first 50 episodes, tying them together with a Sparkster-sized finale, and with that said, again, thanks for crazy first 50 guys. I'll be quite honest here, I never looked at this channel and said to myself, I wanted to be a YouTuber. In fact, I work a full-time job. This has always been a hobby of mine I've just been fascinated about. For many individuals, the moment you turn your hobbies into a job, well, they don't remain hobbies anymore. Sure, you can absolutely make this your be-all end-all, but in my opinion, what made early YouTube so great was a vast majority of the creators in the space didn't have a long-term goal in mind. A large portion of content was just random individuals uploading fun shit that they were into. I never wanted to be the perfect game reviewer or make content for the sake of creating quick-serve video consumption. I made them because it was something I still enjoy to talk about, while looking for a way to bring my quirky personality traits out in front of the camera. I guess my own attempt at recapturing a little bit of that old YouTube feeling. The greatest reward I've gotten here is cutting up with a great deal of you guys in the comments who share your thoughts. If you want to support my channel, what would mean the most to me is to drop a comment, maybe share a story related to a series you enjoy. If you like this video, by all means like it, but if not, be sure to thumb it straight down to hell and back. People get so wrapped up in the idea of being a content creator, they forget the reason they made videos in the first place. If there's one piece of advice I would give, it's make content that truly represents you, because I'm damn sure gonna keep making exactly that, and I hope you guys come along for the ride, and if you do, I'll surely see you there, gang.